Okay, ready? We're gonna do a.
We're gonna jump.
Woo!
About 30 miles northeast of Mexico City lies the holy city of Teotihuacan, and it's home to the largest structure built in a single phase in the entire pre-Columbian New World. The city reached its peak in 450 CE with evidence of its influence spreading to the Maya people and as far south as modern-day Guatemala. While the site was abandoned by the end of the 8th century, later civilizations, especially the Aztec, believed Teotihuacan to be their foundational civilization and the birthplace of the gods.
Okay, where are we?
Okay, so we're at Teotihuacan. This is the Pyramid of the Sun.
Perfect, because the sun's right above it.
This is the Avenue of the Dead. And that is the Pyramid of the Moon.
Wow.
And then this was like the central place in Teotihuacan. This was where all the markets were. This was your main avenue.
The Aztecs and other people of central Mexico believed that this site was like the birthplace of the world.
Oh.
And so what they believed was that there were 4 imperfect worlds before this. They were like that ruled on planet Earth, and they had sort of failed, and gods from those different worlds came and met here on this site and decided like we need to make sacrifices for like humanity. And so they lit a big fire and was like, who's going to jump in first? And there was like kind of they called him like an ordinary, I don't know if he was a god, I guess he was an ordinary god, that he very bravely, he like jumped into the fire and then became the sun. And that this like very fierce kind of warrior god was so inspired that he jumped into the fire and became the moon. And that they were followed then by a jaguar and an eagle. So that the people from here would be like great warriors blessed by the sun and the moon.
So is that their creation story essentially?
All the people that came after in Teotihuacan, that like they all wanted to trace their ancestry back here because this was like the great civilization. So that was like their, like origin story. How do you say that word?
If I'm a pretentious British man, it's jaguar. How do you say that word?
Jaguar.
I think we're both wrong.
Emily, I have a question for you. You might not know the answer to.
Okay.
But why would this main avenue be called the Avenue of the Dead?
My best educated guess is because in a lot of like indigenous American cultures, they value death as a place of purification. And it's not like the Christian hell that you would think of kind of in Western cultures, but it's more of a like, you go here, you're purified, and then you're reborn.
Yeah.
So I think that our immediate association is to think Avenue of the Dead is like this negative bad thing when I don't think it actually was.
Yeah, it's like honoring the dead.
Yeah.
It's almost like Dia de los Muertos.
Yeah.
Right? Avenue of the Never Two Pencil. More like Avenue of the Lead. No. Okay. And in the Central Basin in the heart of Mexico, a city-state called Cuicuilco flourished from around 200 BC. It far exceeded its neighbors in power until the day in the 1st century, this is big, when nearby Mount Zitle erupted and lava covered the town. Basically, then it led to a power vacuum in central Mexico. Who will rise? Teotihuacan.
Yes.
And that one of the main crafts of Teotihuacan was obsidian.
Yes.
Because of all the lava from, I just wrote, when they said obsidian, I wrote lava. I was really excited about it.
That's what I learned when I was reading about it yesterday. It emerged as a huge trading center because it controlled obsidian mines.
And it says the valley was actually a basin without drainage. The damp earth of its frequently soaked plains was perfect for farming, and the encircling sweep of mountains formed a literal barricade against the outside world. Like they've never found any evidence like fortifications. Like it was just totally safe and secure. And then Camila Townsend, again, says, quote, "It seemed to be the very center of the earth, created as a sort of enchanted place." Which I love. Can we just start with the irony that like this plaque that is all about preserving Teotihuacan is very poorly preserved?
First off, whenever I come to like any kind of building like this, I'm just shocked that people were able to build stuff like this without any modern day technology. Like that is just beyond my capabilities. And I like that they have all the little stones inside the mortar because the stones make it so you don't have to use as much mortar, but it's also like a lovely little extra detail.
It looks beautiful.
And the fact that this has been around for how many years, Emily? When was this created?
1500?
No way.
It reached
earlier than that.
It reached its height in 450 CE, but it was founded probably like 100 BC, so 2,000 years.
So then these buildings have been walked on and used for that long is pretty spectacular.
Yeah. 10 out of 10. I would do this in my kitchen backsplash.
Yes. Stepped pyramids, you know.
Stepped pyramids. Step by step.
Day by day. Emily, you know that one of my favorite things is archaeoastronomy.
Yes.
What is archaeoastronomy?
It is a really fancy word that makes you sound really smart at dinner parties. And it's like how ancient civilizations would build things to correspond with the celestial world.
Yes.
Great.
This place is not that, which I think is really interesting. And that was a big shocker for me. They actually built the Pyramid of the Moon to reflect Cerro Gordo, which is a mountain in the background. And then the Avenue of the Dead, obviously, is going to come all the way down here. And there was something about the alignment of the Pyramid of the Sun, but it was not it was not like a traditional archaeoastronomy moment when things are aligned to the winter and summer solstice.
We don't know if Teotihuacan was like the capital of a bigger state or if it was just a city-state, but they reached their peak at around 450 CE. So for reference, what's going on in 450 CE around the world?
Give me a region.
Rome
Is about to fall.
476, right? Like they're rising right when Rome is collapsing, and they're also rising right before like Islam is going to rise in the other in the Middle East. And then it says they reach their peak from like 450 to 550, and around 550 CE is when they have a collapse. And they've always just assumed that it was environmental factors and invasions, because I think that's just what, like, when we're not sure why an earlier civilization fell, we just copy and paste and assume it's that.
Yeah, it's always an invasion.
But there's clearly evidence of like a riot, and they thought it was like an invading army. But what they found was that they burned down the ceremonial precincts and like where the elites would be, and all the apartments of the ordinary folk stayed standing, which makes us infer what?
That it's a popular revolt by the people.
That probably what happened was there was some sort of climate disaster. We do know there was drought, and probably then there was frustration with the management of resources. But probably the actual collapse of the city was essentially a popular revolt taking it down. And then after basically when this falls, there's another power vacuum, and so new nomadic people from the north are going to start coming down, and they're coming down with better weapons like bows and arrows. And one of those waves is going to be the Mexica or the Aztec. And when they come through, they're going to be like, these are going to be our people. We are basically going to claim to be the descended from Teotihuacan.
Love that.
Yeah. I actually have a theory about why the steps are so steep.
Okay.
I think it's just about efficiency. I think it's about like that a lot of these indigenous American, like pre-Columbian civilizations had to use what they had, and it was very mountainous in a lot of places. Like you think about the Inca too. I think it's just about efficiency of land use. That like
When you get up as high as quickly as possible.
as high as quickly as possible, and same with any place you use terrace agriculture. That like you're just getting as much usable land as possible. That's my educated theory. Emily is gonna scale this while carrying coffee with no lid. Step by step.
So how many people lived here at its height?
We're not sure.
Okay.
I've seen numbers from this book by Townsend say 50,000 people, but then other numbers say 125,000.
Okay.
Which, if it was 125,000, that would make it, I think, the 6th largest city in the world at the time.
Oh, dang.
But I think that probably is exaggerated, and it probably includes people from like
The surrounding
region too. But for example, like Constantinople in the medieval era has a few 100,000. You know, so it's not going to be like on that level. But it's partly just because it's in the middle of the mountains and it can't grow.
Yeah.
But in general, what I think is really interesting is that this wasn't just like a ceremonial center. This was a city.
Yeah.
Right. So this isn't like Machu Picchu, which really was like part of the bigger empire. This is where a lot of people lived.
Yeah.
Very diverse too, we think.
Yes, because there's evidence found that there is specific districts within Teotihuacan that were controlled by the Maya and by the Zapotecs. So we know it was like a super cosmopolitan area.
And I think we have evidence of like trade, right? We can find things that obviously wouldn't originate here from all over what's today Mexico.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah. Imagine that you are living in the year 1300 at Teotihuacan.
Wait, Teotihuacan didn't.
Imagine it is the year 450 and you're living in Teotihuacan. What would you do for a job?
I mean, realistically, as a woman, I'd have lots of babies.
Bear children.
Yeah. Although I will say that a lot of these indigenous communities, when it wasn't times of war, women often were like valued and were given more independence than in contemporary places. But during times of war, it was like, nope, we need you to like guard the home, raise the kids, so we can go win. But like in my feminist world, I would probably like be a craftsman, making really cool things out of obsidian. Not weapons, nothing like that. I'd make like little skulls.
Okay.
Stuff. What would you do?
Not weapons of war. Love that. I would be a farmer. I would, I think, plant flowers and then be
So nothing
a florist.
useful for people to eat.
I would have a flower garden, and then behind my flower garden,
So
I
the
would
one who's
have
making
some-
obsidian skulls and nothing useful. Yeah. Yeah.